Mr. Salami, there's a question. How does the lottery work?
So students will submit their application, and there are a couple phases. So that we'd go through the application and we'll identify, students that qualify, students that don't qualify, and then students are chosen at random. So there isn't any specific way it's done. It's just students will be picked at random to fill in the spots.
Thank you. And most of these programs, the question is, what is the degree to be earned? It's going to be a high school diploma, except for they will be able to earn an associate degree.
I have a question about ninth grade. I have a question about ninth graders that want to apply to the early college. You cannot do that. You have to apply in 8th grade and start in the 9th grade. So if you're going to be a 10th grader next year, you've kind of missed that boat. However, you may still qualify for the Collegiate Academy, where you can go and take classes and get that associate's degree in the 5th year, just like the early college. And Mr. Salome or Mr. Goldthrough, the counselor, would be the best person to get the details on that. I know that if you qualify, you will just be invited to join. There's no application to the Collegiate Academy.
Great question. If you're at the virtual middle school, students receive the same presentation, and their counselors will be sending them the application to their emails as well.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I want to make sure that I understand right that these programs are optional. Like if the student cannot now pick a program, is he still gonna finish the 4 years? Like this, that doesn't like he doesn't need to pick one of these programs to attend high school.
No, they can take the traditional route through high school. The majority of our students do. And it's not saying they're missing out on anything. There are excellent courses for students who choose the traditional 4-year pathway. You know, as a parent myself, I understand it's overwhelming. I can tell you there are no bad choices here. Even if they want to just go to high school and figure it out, we have great schools in Dearborn. That's an excellent choice for your student.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. So they are supposed to apply when they are on the 7th grade or when they are in the 8th grade?
8th grade is when they apply. So this is, if this year is their 8th grade year, this is the time to apply in the spring. Start looking for the applications and the information based on what you heard, the information that you heard today, and apply to the high school option that you wish your child would like to participate in.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, thank you. My son, we're interested in more of a trades type program for him, but we are definitely, I myself anyhow, am feeling more strongly that he should go the route of the college path and getting like a certification upon completion other than just going like Michael Berry. Is that more like just a VOTEC thing where in our past, I know people that went to like a vocational center and they didn't go as far as they may have if they went like a collegiate route as getting a degree for certification. Like,
I can answer that.
Thank you.
Again, as a teacher in career tech ed, the Henry Ford Early College is a great trades route if you're in that advanced manufacturing track. Realize that it's the 5-year commitment and that space are limited. You know, there's a lottery to get in. The vocational classes now are called career tech ed, and a big part of that has been a move away from that historic model of trade schools, you know, being what we thought when we were young, what they are. They really are high level programs. Students can earn college credit. The intent is to transition them into a sort of program. And they do receive an entry-level job certification coming out of them. In welding, they get the ASE, American Society of Welding certificate, which they can use to get a welding job. In auto tech, they can get the Michigan Mechanics license and their ASE, Automotive Service Excellence certifications. They get in our construction trades program, the Michigan 60-hour pre-builder's license certification. There are also excellent pathways to things like the skilled trades apprenticeship programs. So
Right.
the apprenticeships come looking to our construction program saying, you know, apprenticeship programs will take anybody, but they love it when the kid knows which end of the hammer to hold already and can identify nails. So there are many excellent options. Again, I'm going to close everything with this. Talk to your, you know, the middle school counselors are great. The high school counselors are great. They will definitely have some advice for you. Our 9th grade students also are doing some testing through a program called U-Science, which should help them narrow down what their aptitude might be. No, not just interest. We kind of laugh. We used to survey students on their interest, and it said we should be offering rock star and basketball player classes. Now we do this U-Science, which really looks at their academic achievement, their interests, but their aptitudes, what they have the ability to do. And the counselors are very good at that and can help you narrow down what options are out there. And I also invite you to come on the 2nd of March, and this is kind of to everybody. Our open house at Michael Berry Career Center is not just an open house where the teachers are there and you can ask them about the program. We have students there demonstrating what they learn. We have colleges there talking about the transfer agreements, the credit agreements. I'm going to see if the tradespeople will come and talk about apprenticeships. We have some of our local employers there talking about what kind of job opportunities are there for the career tech ed kids. So there are lots of options to learn more. And, you know, this is just an initial volley. We're going to keep throwing information at you for the next, well, however long till your student graduates.
I don't think we appreciate it. And I have one last question regarding the early college. So that would be a great route for him to go. But again, that's a lottery. Would those opportunities still be available to him if he would for the Collegiate Academy?
Absolutely. And also through dual enrollment and through the CT programs. There's lots of options. That's what I'm saying. There are no dead ends. And again, your counselors can help you navigate. It's not a road. It's like a spider web. There's lots of ways to get where you're going.
And they're all great programs. One question is how many applications for the early college?
So
As you heard from Mr. Salami, they are still working on the criteria.
Yeah, we don't necessarily have that down. It's going to be between 2 to 3. We're still trying to figure out what route we're going there, but it's going to be between 2 to 3.
Thank you.
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Sure. That's a cool background.
So thanks. So you could take Michael Berry and DCMST. Would that be dual enrollment?
No, dual
that's
enrollment
not
is
dual
taking
enrollment.
college classes, but students do take both of those. And by the way, Michael Berry and DCMST students do take college classes through dual enrollment, but they're 2 separate programs.
But if you do take them both at the same time, would you still go to your home high school?
So DCMST is, yes, you go half a day. You go 3 hours of the day at your home high school and 3 hours at DCMST for all 4 years. Michael Berry Career Center are career programs. They're 2 or 3 hour elective classes that you take. Just like you have electives like gym now, you just pick those to sort of enhance your, the classes. DCMST is about the academic classes, math and science.
So then how would
Where
it
the-
work if you put it together?
What's that
This is a
question?
question for your counselor.
He's
And
asking
then
if you can do Michael Berry Career Center and DCMST at the same time.
We have many students who do. You start DCMST in 9th grade, and you can start taking, at DCMST, you can start taking Michael Berry classes in 11th grade. Although most students wait till 12th just because of the demands of the program. They don't have a lot of space in their schedule. But we do have several students who do that. We even have students who do that and Collegiate Academy on top of it. So there are lots of options.
Would you also be able to add CTE on top of that?
CTE is the Michael Berry Career Center, same thing.
So
Yeah,
Michael
so
Berry is
a lot of
CTE.
the questions you're asking, a lot of the programs will overlap. So although it seems like you're overlapping 2 or 3 separate programs that are completely different, a lot of the programs and the courses and the classes you're going to take, they will overlap. So it gives you the opportunity to be a part of the multiple programs as you're referring to.
I think the only exception is the early college, right?
Right.
The early
Yeah,
college, you're kind of locked into just that
Right.
because it's a lot to do high school and 2 years of college in 5 years.
Correct. Mr. Al-Husseini, the question about how do students know about these options? Every middle school scheduled a presentation with Dr. Birol, Mr. Salami, Ms. Gary Bazzi, who are the counselors and administrators. They visited the middle schools and they went over the options with the students. In addition, the middle school counselor will be available to answer any questions you may have or your child may have. That's why we wanted to do the community forum, so that you are hearing the same information that your son or daughter heard at the school. There are many options and it's very difficult to, like Dr. Viral said, to draw one path. It's like a spider web. And because we have too many options, it's very hard to make a decision, but we are presenting those options to you.
I have a question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
All right, so like I go to Stout and this is like I'm in 8th grade, right? So if I apply for Henry Ford Early College and I go to Etzel, well, like what am I gonna do at Etzel? Like
So
it
if
takes
you
me from
apply-
Etzel to the early college?
Yeah, so if you apply to the Henry Ford Early College, you would not have classes at Edsel Ford. So if you were accepted into the program, you would be on our campus. You would not attend Edsel Ford.
All right, so it takes me like from point A to point B to point C.
Right.
Well,
So
the-
if you're talking about the bus schedule, you'd go to Edsel Ford. You take a bus from Edsel Ford to the Henry Ford College campus where all your classes would be. Then at the end of the day, you would take a bus back to Edsel Ford where you would go home.
All right, that makes sense. So basically, whatever I need to learn, that like at Etzel, I learn at the campus.
Right, yeah.
Correct.
So your high school would be the Henry Ford Early College. Your high school would not be Edsel Ford. You would not be a Thunderbird. You would be
That makes sense.
right. Yeah. You'd be a Hawk. You'd be a Henry Ford Early College Hawk.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if all the parents caught that, the early college is really our 4th high school in the district. We have Edsel, Dearborn, Fordson, and the Henry Ford Early College are the 4 high schools.
What would you suggest to students that are still undecided of their career path, but still want to join one of these programs?
So I get that question all the time, and I'm sure Dr. Byro does as well. The best thing I would do, the best recommendation I would have is that you, as a family, you talk to your son or your daughter, you figure out what route they want to go, and then you relay those messages over to the middle school counselor. You talk to the middle school counselor, and you kind of get an idea of what program would be best tailored to your student. And I would say and I know Dr. Byral as well, is always open for questions. So if you have any more questions after talking to your student or talking to their middle school counselor, you can come back to us. But we do have a ton of programs, and it is an educated guess because you have to find the right program that is tailored to your student. So what I would say is talk to them, talk to their middle school counselor to get an idea of what programs and what the programs actually look like. So what are the nuts and bolts? What are the details of the program? So if you're coming to the Henry Ford Early College, what does that structure look like as far as what classes they're taking, and what that daily structure looks like? And then what it might look like over at the Michael Berry Center and what that structure looks like. And then that way you can make an educated guess based on the needs of your child. I would start with them. I would go over to the middle school counselor. And then if you have any other questions, reach out to us through email, call, set up a meeting. I'd be more than happy to meet with you one-on-one. And then, you'd make a decision that way.
I've been doing that ever since he was in kindergarten. We do a lot of hands-on outside of school. I've taken him to cooking programs, manufacturing programs. Over the summer there, some of the colleges offer students like an insight of what there is for there was an aerodynamics program for people who want to, fly airplanes or work on airplanes. My husband works for Chrysler. They had a Chrysler open house for families. And I've taken them to that to kind of get an insight of what, goes on in those factories and what, the work that they do. And he's still kind of like undecided. And I'm still up until this, day, I'm still taking him out to outside of school where there's programs to get insights of kind of like job shadowing, or at the same time, he can still get hands-on experience of how these jobs work.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. I
and-
mean, he's young, right? So it's gonna take him some time to figure that out. But I mean, I think you want to look at what the structures of the programs are and then what type of learner he is and make a decision that way.
And remember, this is not a one-time decision in 8th grade and it's a decision for the rest of your life. There might be a better or, you know, a marginally better pathway for you, but there are no bad decisions. These are all great programs. We know that nationwide, 4 out of 5 college students change majors at least twice. So,
Right.
you know, you're not alone in not figuring it out. I didn't figure out what I wanted to be till I was 35 years old. So, you know, there's hope for us all.
Right now, it's still early for him to decide, and I don't know if it's like a gender thing. Like my daughter knew what she wants. She's already in the a program for the early college program, and so like let's say he goes on to high school maybe for a year or 2, and then eventually decides he wants to go into one of these programs. Would he still be able to apply to one of the career paths?
So we have a lot of, I mean, it's the vast majority of students do not do DCMST or the early college. They're very limited, small programs. The biggest number of graduates just do the traditional 4-year high school, and they're very successful. The next biggest number is probably students who take advantage of the Collegiate Academy and finish high school and start working on that associate's degree that we pay for. And then we have a pretty good number of students, about 600 every year, who are enrolled in the career tech ed programs. And again, you know, you can start those programs in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and you're going to get something of value out of them. So, you know I went through this. My daughter's a freshman in college. I completely went through this over the last 5 years. I get it. But there really in Dearborn aren't any bad choices, you know, and we do have outstanding counseling staff who work on this every day, every minute with your kids. I mean, they really are excellent at trying to get each specific kid, you know, kind of on the right path for them. And if I can kind of mention it quickly, we kind of blew over this fast. All 3 high schools are now in the process of implementing what we call the Career Academy model. We were doing great till COVID kind of had it screeching to a stop. But really, that sounds very complicated, but it's really just about trying to put in place everything we need so the right kid takes the right class at the right time. And just so you know, that's something that all of us teachers and all the counselors and all the principals work on. And, you know, I mean it really daily. In everything we do, that's what we're working for. And I see people asking about applying for Michael Berry. You don't. You just sign up for those classes starting in 10th grade or 11th grade or 12th grade when you pick courses for next year. We're going to start that course selection process with the counselors February 2nd and wrapping up by the end of February. So you're going to get a presentation from me. You're going to meet with your counselor. You're going to fill out that course selection sheet. We have our open house. We have some other opportunities to do it. So people are interested in those career tech ed programs. You just sign up for courses next year. The only requirement, there's no application. The only requirement is you're on track to graduate. Because if it comes down to signing up for Michael Berry or taking a class you need to graduate on time, they're going to let you take that class you need to graduate on time.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If you apply for early college and you didn't go, can you still go to Michael Berry and other programs?
Yes.
Right, yeah,
if
so
you-
if you're not accepted, if you're not accepted into the early college, and then you end up, let's just say you're at, you know, Fortson or Dearborn or Etzel, whatever your high school would be, and you wanted to apply for the Michael Berry program, then you'd be able to do that your 10th grade year, correct, Dr. Byro?
Correct.
Yeah.
I have a question. Is there a lottery and a limit for DCMST?
There is. It's 90 students because that's the physical capacity of our classrooms.
And then if there's more than 90, it'll be a lottery.
It's not a lottery. It is a competitive application at DCMST.
Okay,
The
great. Thank you.
kids, the applications are anonymized. We take the names off. It goes through a committee. They rank them from, you know, 1 to whatever, however many, and then we just go from the top down. I know that it's never the top 90 students. A lot of kids do the early college or go the AP route in the high school or just decide something else. So, usually it's a really broad, diverse group of students from that list. And then, as I said, there are also some ways students can sort of catch up in the 9th grade if they didn't apply in the 9th grade, or they thought they wanted to do something else and they would like to be in DCMST. We normally will accept anywhere from 5 to 10 10th graders into that program in 10th grade. Based on they need to be ready for the next advanced math class at DCMST. Usually they end up having to double up a math class, doing something through summer school or some work on their own or something. But again, we can guide you through that process for students who are interested. There is definitely a pathway to do that.
I have a question.
Thanks.
I have a question. So basically, like, what if okay, so I sign up and like I can go, right? And then I apply to like I want to have architect. I want to be architect. Like, do they teach me about language arts and everything else, or just like architect? That's it.
No, all of our programs you have to meet the Michigan Merit Curriculum, the requirements to graduate. So it's going to be 4 years of language arts, 3 years of science, 3 years of math, 3 years of social studies, a gym class. You're going to have to take all that. That's what the state says it takes to graduate high school. So you're going to get all that.
All right, what if I choose architect and I want to switch to something else because like I don't feel like that's good, like it's for me, and I want to become like a doctor or something.
You can always switch things. Like I said, to be an architect or a doctor, you're going to need a master's degree or more. You're going to go to college after this. What you're going to get out of our programs is a head start, some college credits, some information you need to be successful, the background, the knowledge, the skills. And that means you can switch. Of course, the more switching you do, the less good at any one of those you are. But I keep saying it, there aren't any bad decisions. As long as you meet with your counselor, they know you the best, and they're going to tell you, remember what I said, the right student in the right class at the right time. That's what our counselors will help you do.
Right. And I think there's some confusion. So you wouldn't be picking what your major is in college now. What you would be doing is starting a program that exposes you to college classes or hands-on technical training. So at this point, you're not deciding, hey, I want to become a doctor. So that's a college thing that you're going to do after you graduate high school, and you'll get into a 4-year university. You'd get an undergraduate degree and then move on to graduate studies. So you're not deciding that now. What you're deciding on now is, are these programs that interest me? And if they are, then you should apply.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. And you're not locking yourself in. This is, like I said, this is not a do or die decision now that's going to dictate the rest of your life. I mean, high schools and the early college and everything else, we have to build in some flexibility because students' brains are still growing and developing. And that's a natural part of life and education is to provide all those options and pathways to you. And a big part of what we all do is career exploration, because you get in it thinking, I'll kind of say, I think if every kid who says they want to be a doctor in 9th grade ended up being a doctor, there would be 7 doctors on every block in Dearborn, because it's a lot of them. Now, a lot of those go on to be paramedics and nurses and pharmacists and radiographers and research scientists and everything else. That's what high school is about, figuring out more specifically what you want to do after high school.
Excuse me, I got a question. For the early college application, you need, how many recommendations for teachers do you need?
Yeah, so we discussed that earlier. So the requirements for the applications have not yet been fully identified. So it's going to be between 2 to 3, but look for that application to come out in the next couple of weeks with the specifics on that.
And it's going to tell us like if it's going to be a specific teacher or
everything you need. No, not a specific teacher. So you'd have the opportunity to, ask for any teacher in your middle school, counselor in your middle school for recommendation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What is the last semester apply for these programs?
Wafa, are you asking a question?
Yeah.
Yes, I cannot hear that, Wafa.
Here, you want to type it in the chat, Wafa? Wafa, you want to try again? Or maybe type it in the chat. When is the last chance to apply for these programs?
Yeah, so for our program, we haven't even opened up the application process yet. So you definitely have some time for the early college. Again, just make sure you look out for the application.
Yeah, and I'll say that for all of these programs, we send it out to your school email, the one that has your student number at dearbornschools.org. Part of being a high school student is learning to look at that email address all the time, because there's going to be important information, because I know our counselors will send that information out over and over and over again. So it'll be there. You just have to look for it. And I think sometimes they go to the parents as well, correct?
Right, correct.
That also means parents have to have accurate email addresses on file with the school. So this is a good time to double check that if you were the parent of an 8th grade student.
Thank you.
I have a question. Can you like apply to DCMST and Henry Ford Early College and then go to the one that accepts you?
Correct. In fact, that's probably the best plan.
I
Thank
see
you.
Larissa's hand is up, and Muhammad Ali, do you still have questions before we wrap up? I know we went over time for those who had additional questions.
This is Larissa. I have a question about, I guess it's out of our subject, but I have a clarification. We received an email about the college success.
From who?
From Welmer G at dearbornschools.org.
So the counselors will send those out to you. That is a class that's required for students who are applying into, I think, I don't even know why it's required anymore, but it's basically a class that teaches students to be successful in college. And many students take it. I would email your counselor. They know the information about that. That's not something me or Mr. Goldthrow or Mr. Salome work with very often.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I will reach out to her. Muhammad Ali.
Excuse me. So could I apply to all of the early colleges, and if I get accepted to one, go to that one?
That's correct. That is correct. Maha? Maha, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. So to study for the early college test, all you have to do is just read, right? Just read books.
Well, reading books will get you better at taking any
Chance.
test, but
Yeah,
really
better.
it's a standardized assessment that students take, and there is no prep for that assessment. They just take it as part of their 8th grade year.
And
Thank you.
while we get more questions, I'm going to share my screen and share some email addresses with you, because I know there's some parents who want to write these down and ask questions just so we can honor everybody's time. So I'm going to share this quickly. I think I can. Hopefully everybody can see that.
Yeah, thank you. We can see it. Maha, you had a question? Okay, so what we're going to do is download this recording and then post it to the YouTube video, hopefully by tomorrow. Keep checking. I did put the district link to the YouTube district page. You can find the recording there if you want to go over it one more time, find out which program is best for you and your child, and reach out to the counselors. They have all the information.
I have a question. If you were to be accepted into Henry Ford Early College, but later on you decided that like it wasn't good for you, how would that work? Like leaving the program?
Yeah, so we'll have a conversation with you. If it's something that you feel, you start the program, you get into it, you're a year into it, and you really feel it's not the right program for you, we'll have a conversation with you, with your parents, and there's always the option of going back to your home school. So if your home schools, let's just say Etzel Ford, you just go back to Etzel Ford.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and like everything, you can switch around between any of these programs, but the farther into your high school career you make that switch, the more work it's going to be to you to get caught up. So we really do work with you, trying to get you in the right choice as early as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Byral. And
I have a question, please.
yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my son told me that they need to be vaccinated if they want to apply for the HFET program. I just
Right,
wanted
that would
to
only be for the health program. So the Henry Ford Early College has 3 different schools. So you could, each school has 50 spots. So there's the education program, the advanced manufacturing program, and the health program. The students that apply to be in the health program, starting their 9th grade year, every Wednesday are bused down to the Henry Ford Hospital in downtown. And the hospital mandates that the students are vaccinated, that all their employees are vaccinated, both with the flu shot and with the COVID-19 vaccine. So in order to get into that program, yeah, you would need the vaccine.
Okay, and when is the last date to get the vaccine? Because I know there's some testing on site that need to be done, like comprehensive testing.
Right.
That's what I heard at the
So
beginning.
so they would have until so this year, for example, they had until mid-September of their 9th grade year. So the students that were accepted, they came into our program, they started the program, and then they had until the middle of September for their vaccine, and they had to have their second vaccine done by then.
Okay, so do they have to have the first dose of the vaccine before they come in and do the comprehensive testing on site? Like after the application is done?
Yeah, this year they were only mandating up to the second vaccine, so you had that full round. And I don't know what the hospital might mandate for next year, because we have to kind of follow what they want. So they might say, the flu shot is mandatory, but not the COVID shot anymore. So that could change, or they might want 3 shots, right? They might want you to have your booster. So it could go in any direction. We take lead from what the hospital wants.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I see an excellent question about dual enrollment, about if you fail a dual enrollment class, do you have to pay the tuition back? The answer to that's yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is why we work really hard with our counselors. I'm gonna say it again, right kid, right class, right time. You don't just say, oh, high school's not for me, I'm struggling, maybe I'll try college, right? College is the next step. It's a harder thing. We need, you need a more mature, self-motivated, harder working student to be successful in those college classes. And so our counselors try and advise you and say, I don't know if you have the skills yet to do that. That's also what that College 101 class that somebody brought up is about. They go through sort of a realistic expectation that nobody's going to hold your hand, and your parents can't call the college professor, and there's some differences to taking college classes. There are parent education meetings long before we get over it. Ms. Faraj would have the actual numbers, but the actual number of kids who end up having to pay that back aren't very high, because we do an excellent job of pre-screening them and making sure they're ready.
Thank you for this information. The other question we got, can students apply to more than one option? And then the comment says that earlier we said no, and later we said yes. Yes, you can apply. If you're not accepted in one, you can apply for the other. That's what we said earlier. For example, if you apply for DCMST and you're not accepted, you can definitely apply for the Henry Ford Early College, and vice versa.
Mr. Salome, there was a question earlier on. I'm sorry, I skipped over it, but I just saw it again.
No
a parent who is employed by Henry Ford Health Systems your partner, if their students apply, is there a different procedure? Or are they just thrown in the pool with all other students?
As far as the lottery is concerned,
Yes, correct.
no, it would be the same. So they would apply for the program. If they get in, they get in. Now, because you got to understand, it's not just applying for the health program. They're applying for a spot in our program. So they wouldn't get, they wouldn't get accepted simply because they have a parent that works at the hospital.
Mr. Salemi, the application for the health, manufacturing, or teaching is the same application, correct?
That's correct.
So the question is, if you do not make it to one, can you choose the other path? It is the same application. So if you don't make it, you don't make it.
Right. It's the same application, and on the application, they'd identify specifically what school they're applying for.
Okay. All right, that concludes our presentation, unless you have any more questions. And like I said, we will post on the district YouTube channel.
One more question.
Okay, Heather.
So if you do apply for both, and then you choose like whichever one accepts you, but you'd go to that one. But what happens if you were accepted in both?
You have to pick.
You have to pick. It's your decision.
But then would you just send an email to like the principal in the one that you didn't pick saying I was accepted?
No,
as
when you're accepted into either program, they'll send you and your parents a thing that says, I would like to accept the invitation. Just responding to that email, you'll be done. It's not as complicated as it sounds.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Question is dual enrollment classes online or in Henry Ford College? It depends on what courses you select. Some of them we do not encourage online in the beginning for the students who do dual enrollment, but some classes are offered online, just regular college students. They get the option of both. And Muhammad Ali has his hand up.
I'm already done with my questions. I just forgot to turn it off.
Excellent. So I am going to wish everyone a great rest of the evening. And please reach out to your counselors. They want to hear from you and they'll explain whatever information you're asking them to do, to explain. So thank you for attending this session. And thank you, Dr. Viral, Mr. Salemi. Miss Hiba Hamadi is with us also. She's a counselor from Salina. And not sure if we have any other staff members. Thank you all and have a great evening.
Thank you for the
presentation. Thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.